Hey everyone, Harley here at Peace Fans. We're doing an EV deep dive today on what we call Peter's Doka. Peter is the owner of this Doka. What year is this, like a 71? I'm here with Gene, who's one of our lead engineers on our EV conversion team. Gene's going to be going over what we did with Peter's Doka today. And so first of all, this Doka came to us already fully restored. Peter's owned this for, I want to say, like 25 years and went through a major restoration with body and paint, mechanical. And Peter is a very passionate EV consumer. He has multiple EV vehicles. He's a partner in an EV boat manufacturer, and he really wanted to convert this to electric. And we were like, let's do it, Peter. And we were so excited. And one of the things that was really exciting about this project was not just Peter's enthusiasm for it, but also Peter was committed to using this as a daily driver. He's got a couple thousand miles in it since the conversion. It's back in here for a few upgrades, which we'll go over. But Peter has a working farm on the Washington coast, and actually uses this vehicle to go to the dump, to cart plants around, to support his gardening and his farming. And it's really amazing to watch this vintage vehicle work and also be electric. So Gene and I are going to talk about some of the highlights of the Doka. Gene, and we're going to sharing a mic here, so it's a little awkward. But you want to walk us through kind of the key pieces of technology, like the motor, the battery box, the charging system?
Sure. So for this Doka, we went with a really well-tested and really robust, reliable drivetrain. So what we ended up with is the 100-volt Hyper 9 motor, which is an AC permanent magnet motor. It's super power dense. It's lighter than other motors that make the same amount of horsepower. And it works really well in a daily driver like this, where power is not, it doesn't have to be huge, but it's still going to be about double what the truck originally had.
And we made that to the original transmission, right?
That's right. We made it to the original 4-speed transaxle, and with some clever tuning, the driving experience can feel pretty similar to what you had before, except when you keep pushing the pedal, you keep going faster.
And so there's a clutch, right? And Peter shifts through the gears and all that?
Yeah, there is still a clutch. You can still use the gears. It is not 100% necessary to use the gears. You can stay in second or third and be just fine. But the really great thing about it is you can drive in a much more efficient manner if you're already well versed in how to save gas in a manual vehicle. The same principle applies for this. You can also go up really steep hills in first gear a lot better than you'd be able to originally without slipping the clutch at all. It's something that we really love. It really keeps a lot of character in these builds, not like they were lacking any.
And then let's talk about charging. So this has level 2 charging.
Right, this has level 2 charging. It's J1772, so the universal protocol here in the US it's still really the standard. It will eventually be eclipsed by DC fast charging, which is something we're working on. But for now, it's the protocol that you'll find at every grocery store you go to. Anytime you stop and you just want to add a few percent to your battery, you can do that in one of these. The charging time is pretty standard for a vehicle with a battery of this size, which is 63 kilowatt hours. So you can get a full charge overnight. And if you go to the grocery store and you're in there for 45 minutes, you can gain about 10 or 15%. Yeah.
And let's talk about the batteries. You mentioned 63 kilowatt hours. That's 6.3 kilowatt hour Tesla modules times 10, right?
Right.
And that was actually one of my favorite things about this project was Peter really wanted maximum range. He wanted to be able to come down to Seattle to visit his grandkids and make it back home. And so he invested in a large battery pack. And this truck actually has what's called a treasure chest. So we actually had an elegant place to put the batteries. So talk about the batteries and how they're wired up. And
Sure. So yeah, the battery pack on this one is the most unique feature of it. It's a new idea really that we kind of pioneered. to place 10 Tesla modules, which would be 240 volts nominal, into a 120 volt nominal build by paralleling 2 strings of 5 modules in series. It's something that we put a lot of time into developing a full system that would work well, and you wouldn't really notice that there was that added complexity in there. All you notice is, wow, I can drive a lot further than all these other people on YouTube with their EV buses can.
Great. Well, why don't you come around to this side with the camera, and we'll see the battery box, and we'll come around to this side. And so you can sort of see in here the battery box. We're not going to take the cover off, but there's 10 modules in there, and there's liquid cooling.
That's right. Yeah, there's liquid cooling just like in a Tesla. It's not refrigerant. It's just normal coolant. Easy to maintain. Won't lose pressure or anything.
Yep. So, and then we put the seat back in here, and so Peter's able to cart around the grandkids, his wife, all sorts of passengers. And then he's been in for a few upgrades lately. And are these the new gauges placed or no? These
Right. These are gauges from Speed Hut. They've widened their breadth of their product line to include EV gauges now. So what we have in here is, I'll turn on the backlight so that you can see them better. We have an amps gauge that it really helps you keep track of how efficient you're driving. A lot of production EVs have these. It's called like efficiency, but it's the same thing really. We have this new speedometer, which uses a digital speed sensor, very accurate. We can calibrate it so that there's a reputation for these vehicles having speedometers that really do not tell you how fast you're going. So this is a good upgrade here. We have the little battery level gauge, so you can keep track of how much range you have left. And then we have a battery temperature gauge. It's important out where this customer lives. It does get really cold in the winter, and he was wanting to know the temperature of his batteries, so he knows that now. They're really nice gauges. They blend in with the look of the vehicle and actually look like a pretty good analog for the stock gauges. So.
And then we have a few different buttons, right? Don't we have reverse as a switch? And
right. We have a switch instead of getting into the reverse gear, which can be tricky if you're not used to it. You just switch and stay in second, first, whatever gear you're in, and the direction of the motor will swap. And then we also have this little switch here, which we call eco mode. Basically, you have a lot of options for the tune you want your motor controller to be running. With this one, when you pull the switch, it will decrease the limit for how much power you can drive forward with, and it will increase the limit for how much regenerative braking is allowed. And that's basically meant for once you see your battery level is pretty low. Here, I'm gonna conserve power by increasing my regenerative braking, and it won't let me give it the beans so much.
so this is just a pre-programmed set of parameters, and you pull that switch and it goes in a different kind of driving mode.
Exactly.
That's awesome. And then we just installed power steering for this for Peter, right? Electric power steering.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because these, if you've driven one of these, it's kind of a pain in, you know what, to steer these, especially at low speeds. So yeah, Peter wanted us to put, how did that go? You did the install, right?
Yeah, well, this is a really great option. Being electric, you don't have to worry about pressure lines, you don't have to worry about checking your fluid, you don't have to worry about leaks, you don't have to worry about a belt slipping. It's just a little electric motor that's pulled out of an old Opel car, and it straight up just...
Wow. Oh my God, you could never...
One finger.
You could not turn that steering wheel.
You have to stand up, grab one
Yes,
side of the wheel
exactly.
with both
Yeah,
hands.
I've seen
and
you.
then, yeah.
I've seen you try to steer this vehicle at low speeds or no speed in the shop.
It's got big chunky tires too, so it's really a world of difference.
And then this, we have an electric heater in this too?
Yeah, there's an electric heater. It's a high voltage element, runs on the 120 volt battery pack.
And that's really nice for Peter. He commutes on the ferries a lot, and it's really nice to sit on the ferry line and have your car warm, but not be spewing pollutants into the air.
Right.
So yeah, so that's kind of the highlights of Peter's bus. There's a lot of other technical details. We're going to do a full write-up on it. Gene, it's been so much fun to work on this project with you. I mean, I just love seeing the customer so happy. And again, he's got a couple thousand miles on this, and we thought while it was in the shop, we'd grab this video and do the deep dive. So stay tuned for more deep dives on other projects from Peace Fans on the EV side. Stay tuned for more exciting project overviews, and always subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks a lot, everyone.